Welcome to the Jobnik.
Tal Heinrich is a spokesperson for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and joins us now. Good morning to you. Let's talk about these negotiations because talks over hostages being held in Gaza have seemingly stalled. How confident are you that some type of agreement could be reached anytime soon?
Good morning. Thank you for having me on at this hour. You see, we want our stolen people back. We want our stolen people back, and we're doing everything possible to get them back. We know that the only thing that works against Hamas is heavy military pressure. This and the combination of the diplomatic avenue that we have been pursuing behind the scenes. This is what led to the release of more than 100 hostages back in November. And this is exactly what we're doing now. We're continuing to crush them above the ground, under the ground, dismantle their command chains, their battalions, dismantle their terror infrastructure, and pursuing the diplomatic effort. Now, but the conditions that Hamas has presented so far were non-starters, as Secretary of State Antony Blinken referred to them, or delusional, as my Prime Minister referred to them. We have set very clear red lines for any potential deal to release the remaining 134 hostages. We said that we will not agree to release thousands of Palestinian terrorists in exchange. We said that we will not pull out our forces entirely from the Gaza Strip, because that would mean giving up on achieving the goals in a war that we didn't start and didn't want, goals of military objectives that are very, very legitimate.
Where are 1.5 million Palestinians in Rafah supposed to go?
Well, we have to operate in Rafah. This is the southern city that borders Egypt. There are 4 remaining Hamas battalions there. We're not going to leave them untouched. And my Prime Minister has ordered the military to prepare a plan for the evacuation of civilians from the fighting zones, because we don't want to see them getting caught in the crossfire. We've done this before when we operated in the north, when we operated in central Gaza, when we operated in Khan Yunis. There are parts in the northern parts of Rafah and elsewhere where civilians can go. These plans are being drawn up as we speak. And as you probably covered, I know that you know that a few days ago we went into Rafah and rescued 2 of our hostages in a very successful, precise operation with intelligence, and we're not going to give up our stolen people.
And all the while, the bombardment of Gaza continues. 29,000 Palestinians killed in this war, according to the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry. One Palestinian who had to seek refuge in the south in Rafah is quoted in the New York Times saying, "It's been 4 months in which we've barely slept, eaten, showered, and there's constant bombardment. We're living in conditions, I'm sorry to say, that are barely better than those of animals." What's your message to that man?
Well, it is a tragedy. It is a tragedy, and we know it's a very challenging, difficult situation, but the ones to blame for that are Hamas. First, the numbers that you provided, it's important to mention, are numbers of Hamas. They have a clear incentive to inflate the numbers. We do not take these numbers at face value, obviously, because this is the terrorist organization that invaded our country on October 7th, raped, mutilated, butchered, burned entire families alive, and stole our children, stole our people. And everyone who was injured, killed since October 7th would have still been alive today. We have to remember, if it wasn't for Hamas. Now, this war could have been over if Hamas would have laid down their arms, surrendered, and released the hostages. We know that this is not the case. This is why we have to continue to hit them hard, because Israel has faced and is facing an existential genocidal threat. It's called Hamas, and we're not going to live next to this terrorist enclave any longer. We took this decision as a nation. We've done this for far too long, with tens of thousands of missiles raining on our communities, and for 16 years after October 7th, we say no more.
No one doubts Israel's ability to eventually win this war. By all accounts, one of the most advanced militaries on the planet, despite the massive security breach and lack of intelligence that led to what we saw on October the 7th that happened on Prime Minister Netanyahu's watch. I'm wondering what the bigger issue, though, is what happens to Gaza when the military part of this is done. There are forces in the West, including the U.S., pushing for that two-state solution, which Joe Biden has pushed for, quite frankly, for decades. Netanyahu seems to think that is off the table, doesn't want it to be on the table. So once we get past the guys with guns and we get to the actual harder part of governance and a long-term plan for any semblance of peace, what is Israel willing to support? No one doubts your ability to kill. I'm wondering about your ability to govern and to invest in lasting peace.
So first, in our view, a one-sided forced recognition of a Palestinian state would be an enormous prize for the terrorists who committed the October 7th massacre. And as you probably know, appeasing terrorists never panned out well throughout history. It is the view of our nation that any future settlement between us and the Palestinians should be achieved through negotiations, direct negotiations, without any preconditions. We've always said it, and in fact, we know a thing or two about making peace with our Arab neighbors because we've done this before. We are interested in expanding the circle of peace. It's the Palestinians who never, ever wanted to join it. And anyone's talking about peace should ask themselves why. Why have they rejected every peace initiative and offer since 1937? And we say that real peace, and we want to see real peace with our Palestinian neighbors, it's something that will take deep processes and changes within the Palestinian society. They will have to be demilitarized and will have to be de-radicalized. You cannot have real peace as long as Hamas is in power in the Gaza Strip and as long as the Palestinian Authority continues to educate children, to glorify martyrs, and pay the salaries of terrorists who kill Jews. You cannot have real peace as long as the Palestinian people believe that they are so-called refugees of war that they themselves started, and until Israel will cease to exist and dream to obliterate it. Real peace will take deep changes, and it will take commitment. It will take time. It will take a commitment not only on behalf of Israel and the Palestinian people, but also, people around the world.
Tal Heinrich, spokesperson for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and hit subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Until next time, stay informed and inspired. This is Dejobnik signing off.